The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window on a midsummer day. In the air-conditioned room, I was preparing breakfast with my 6-year-old daughter Amy. As usual, while I made pancake batter, Amy was washing blueberries beside me with practiced hands. Her golden braids gleamed in the morning sun beneath her white apron. "Mom, these blueberries aren't as big as the ones from Grandma's garden," Amy remarked. I couldn't help but smile at her words. Indeed, the blueberries that grew in Patricia's garden, my mother-in-law's garden, were always perfectly large and sweet. Her dedication to gardening surpassed everything else. The garden, famous in the neighborhood, was as beautifully maintained as if tended by a professional. "Grandma is very good at taking care of her garden," I replied. Amy nodded seriously. Her big blue eyes were filled with pure love for her grandmother. At that moment, we heard Michael's footsteps coming down the stairs. "Good morning, Papa," Amy called out cheerfully. Michael was dressed in his usual navy suit with gold-rimmed glasses. As a senior executive at an IT company, his appearance was always impeccable. Tall and well-built, he was the pillar of support for our family. "Good morning, Princess," Michael gently patted Amy's head and winked at me. "Jenny, it smells wonderful in here again today." In the midst of the peaceful morning air, Amy suddenly spoke up with concern. Furrowing her small brows, she set down the blueberries she was holding. "Hey Mom, Grandma hasn't been feeling well lately, has she? Yesterday, she was out of breath just climbing the stairs. And remember when she told the housekeeper to take time off?" At those words, Michael and I exchanged glances. Indeed, my mother-in-law Patricia had been acting differently lately. Usually known for her perfect appearance and respected as a charitable figure in the neighborhood, she had been showing signs of fatigue in recent days. I was also worried about whether she was taking her blood pressure medication properly. I remembered our wedding day 5 years ago. At the most prestigious church in Connecticut, Patricia had radiated presence like an actress in her pearl necklace and elegant dress. That day, in front of the relatives, she had said to me, "Oh, so you were a nurse. But you're a housewife now, aren't you? Michael, surely you could have found someone more suitable." Before she could finish, my father-in-law Robert had stopped her, but the atmosphere had frozen. Her words carried obvious contempt. There was an insurmountable wall between me, from a poor family, and her upper-class background. That hadn't changed even now. My mother-in-law always gave expensive toys and clothes to my sister-in-law Caroline's twin sons. The latest gaming consoles for Christmas, designer children's clothes for birthdays. In contrast, her attitude toward Amy was noticeably cold. Her gifts were always practical items like stationery and books, chosen by my father-in-law. At the very least, she didn't try to hide her discriminatory attitude on the surface. However, there was a truth that no one knew. For the past 2 years, Amy and I had been visiting my mother-in-law's house 3 times a week. At first, it was meant to be just obligatory visits. But when I saw her struggling with housework as her arthritis worsened, I quietly began helping out. Cleaning the large mansion, seasonal wardrobe changes, and preparing meals to her taste. "Jennifer, I never asked for your help," she would say. Yet she never refused our visits. Sometimes, when looking at Amy's drawings, she would show a slightly softer expression. Amy had made it her daily routine to put her fresh drawings on her grandmother's refrigerator. Flowers, animals, sometimes family portraits. And when my mother-in-law thought no one was watching, she would gently stroke these drawings. I had witnessed this many times. The kitchen refrigerator had become a warmer space than the reception room with its expensive artwork. Yesterday, Amy was unusually listless. Her usual endless smile, which lasted from morning till night, was clouded. "My head hurts a little," she said, going to bed early. When I checked her temperature, it was still normal, but her complexion wasn't good. Worried, I called my mother-in-law, and there was an unusual urgency in her voice that I'd never heard before. "I'll come check on her tomorrow." "Yes, in the morning." After hanging up, an inexplicable sense of foreboding crossed my mind. Amy's asthma required special attention when accompanied by fever. My experience as a healthcare worker was setting off warning bells in my mind. That ominous premonition became reality the next morning. The moment I entered Amy's room, I knew something was wrong. The morning sun filtering through the light pink curtains illuminated my daughter's face, who usually woke with the sunrise. However, this morning, she was burrowed deeper than usual into her blankets. Despite the lowered air conditioning temperature, fine beads of sweat dotted her forehead, and her usually energetic cheeks had lost their color, appearing pale. By her bedside lay a drawing, seemingly abandoned midway from the previous night. "Amy, are you feeling all right?" When I called out to her, she opened her eyes slightly, her cheeks unnaturally flushed. When I touched her, the heat transmitted to my palm was abnormal. My experience as a nurse immediately made me understand the gravity of the situation. As I turned to get the thermometer, a hoarse voice reached my back. "Mom, my throat hurts, it's hard to breathe." The weakness in her voice made my heart clench. Considering Amy's asthma, immediate treatment was necessary. I checked the inhaler by her pillow for asthma attacks. "It's okay, we'll see the doctor right away." "Mom's here with you." I quickly grabbed my cell phone and called the pediatrician. While making the appointment, I wiped Amy's sweat with my other hand. Even the sheets were damp. The receptionist announced the appointment time. 1 hour to go. Michael had already left for an important early morning meeting. Just as I was about to give her fever medication, the doorbell suddenly rang. The entrance monitor showed Patricia, my mother-in-law. Perfect in appearance, holding something in both hands. Despite the midsummer morning, she was wearing a high-end brand two-piece suit, and her makeup seemed heavier than usual. There was something urgent about her expression. "Jennifer, open up. Right now." Her voice through the monitor carried its usual arrogance. However, I didn't miss the urgency hidden beneath it. Something seemed off. Last night's phone conversation came back to me. When I opened the door, my mother-in-law was clutching a large plastic bucket. It was packed with ice. The chunks of ice cast an ominous gleam in the morning sun. "Patricia, right now Amy isn't feeling well." Cutting off my words, my mother-in-law stepped into the entrance. Her luxury brand sandals struck the marble floor sharply. The sound echoed like a harbinger of what was to come. The security camera in the entrance quietly blinked its red light. "Where's Amy?" "She's not feeling well, right? I'll cure her." just like my mother did for me. There was something frantic mixed into my mother-in-law's voice. Beneath her perfectly arranged hair and makeup, her expression was slightly contorted. She lacked her usual composure. That heightened my anxiety even more. I'm about to take her to the hospital. She has a fever, and I'm worried about her asthma. Hospital. My mother-in-law's voice rose an octave. There was something mocking in its tone. That child is too spoiled. In my day, this is how we treated illness. You have to be raised tough to survive in this world. At that moment, I saw Amy coming down the stairs. Still in her light blue pajamas, she was wobbling down while holding onto the wall. Her golden braids were disheveled, her usual loveliness subdued. "Grandma, why are you?" Amy called out in a thin voice. Seeing her, my mother-in-law's eyes wavered for a moment with human warmth. But the next instant, that expression changed to hard determination. The mask cultivated through years of social experience once again covered her face. "You're too weak. I'll cool you down with this." It was like a scene in slow motion. My mother-in-law lifting the heavy bucket. The clear ice water dancing in the air. Countless droplets sparkling like jewels in the light. And all of it raining down on Amy. "It's cold. Mom. Help me." Amy's scream echoed through the entrance. The ice-mixed water soaked her golden hair and beat against her pajamas. With each strike against her delicate body, my heart clenched. Witnessing this scene, something snapped inside me. "Stop it. What are you doing?" My scream was so fierce and wild, it didn't seem like my own. The security camera's red lamp coldly recorded this moment of madness. Its light appeared as red as blood. Amy was shaking all over, crouched in place. Her lips were beginning to turn purple. It was a precursor to an asthma attack. Her small body was desperately gasping for air like a fish. "Get out." My voice was as cold as the ice in the bucket. While embracing Amy with both arms, I stared straight at my mother-in-law. All the patience I had built up, all attempts at understanding, had been blown away. But I was thinking of her. "Get out right now. Don't ever come near us again." My mother-in-law started to say something but swallowed her words upon seeing my expression. Clutching her expensive handbag, she backed away. Her face grew pale beneath her perfect makeup. The sound of the front door closing echoed heavily. I immediately wrapped Amy in a bath towel and grabbed my cell phone. Desperately suppressing my trembling fingers, I dialed emergency services. "Hello, I need an ambulance. It's a 6-year-old girl. High fever, and she was doused with ice water. Yes, she has asthma. She's having trouble breathing, the address is." While holding Amy, I followed the operator's instructions. My daughter's body was trembling minutely, her breathing becoming increasingly labored. I took out her inhaler and held it to her mouth with shaking hands. "Mom's here, take slow breaths, that's it, just like that." The security camera at the entrance silently recorded everything. The ambulance siren pierced the quiet residential morning. A tense atmosphere filled the luxury housing area where refined living usually took place. When the paramedics arrived, Amy's breathing was already labored, and her lips had turned deep purple. An oxygen mask was placed on her small face, and as she was lifted onto the stretcher, I desperately held her hand. Her hair was still wet from the ice water, her body trembling minutely. "Mom. I'm scared, it hurts." Without even the composure to respond to her faint voice, the ambulance headed to the hospital. I could only pray while gripping my daughter's hand. Amy's wheezing echoed in the vehicle, and the machine monitoring oxygen saturation sounded its warning. Upon arrival at the hospital, she was immediately taken to the emergency treatment room. Doctors in white coats gathered one after another. The fluorescent lights in the treatment room made Amy's pale face stand out even more. "We suspect severe pneumonia. Given her history of asthma, prepare for immediate ICU transfer." The attending physician's voice flew about. Nurses moved quickly, setting up IVs, oxygen masks, and monitors in succession. Even as a former nurse myself, I was impressed by their professional efficiency. "Mrs. Wilson, your daughter's condition is serious." The sudden change between low body temperature and high fever has caused her body significant shock. While listening to the doctor's explanation, I could only stand there dazed as I watched the bed carrying Amy disappear into the back of the treatment room. Just then, my cell phone rang. It was from Michael. "Jenny. I just checked the security camera footage." "What on earth, was that my mother?" My husband, who had been working from home, said he noticed something was wrong through the security app notification. On the other end of his agitated voice, I could hear the violent sound of computer keys being struck. "Michael, Amy's in the ICU, severe pneumonia." I could tell my voice was shaking. There was so much I needed to tell him, but the words wouldn't come out. My throat was choked up. "I'm coming right away." "But, Jenny, something serious is happening. The footage is being spread." I couldn't believe my husband's words. "What did you say?" "Someone posted it to the neighborhood mom's WhatsApp group. From there, it spread instantly to Facebook and Instagram. It's already been shared hundreds of times. Comments are flooding in." This was an unexpected development. Such an incident happening in Greenwich's wealthy residential area was abnormal in itself. Moreover, the protagonist was Patricia Wilson, a leading figure in local charitable activities. The shock was shaking the entire town. In the hospital waiting room, I stared at my smartphone screen. The posts had spread instantly, with comments flooding in. Starting from the local moms group, the footage that had been posted to the neighborhood association group and then local news sites had spread beyond control. The number of comments increased with time, and their content gradually became more aggressive. Patricia's past activity photos were being dug up one after another on social media posts, with cynical comments attached. Just then, a shout echoed through the waiting room. "Patricia! What have you done?" Turning around, there stood Robert Wilson. The usually dignified senior partner of a law firm now appeared as just an angry father, trembling with rage. His expensive suit was disheveled, his usually neatly combed white hair in disarray. Behind him, Patricia had shrunk into herself. I wanted Amy to be strong." Silence. Robert's voice echoed through the waiting room. "Do you understand what you've done? Our grandchild. Have you seen social media?" We've become the laughingstock of the town." A doctor hurried over. "This is a hospital. Please be quiet for the sake of other patients." But Robert's anger wouldn't subside. He had completely lost his usual coolness as a lawyer of many years. "I'm contacting a lawyer right away. Preparing for divorce. Over 30 years of marriage, but this is the limit." At those words, the blood drained from Patricia's face. Under her perfect makeup, wrinkles were deeply etched. The luxury handbag in her hands nearly slipped from her trembling grasp. Then the police arrived. 2 officers began calmly assessing the situation. The male officer in uniform carefully approached us. "We received a report of child abuse. The security camera footage has already been secured as evidence. Please tell us the details of the situation." The female officer turned to Patricia. "Mrs. Patricia Wilson, could we have your cooperation with our inquiry? Would you please come to the station?" Michael watched with a hard expression as his mother was led away by the officers. In his hand was a letter. A document stating the severance of relations with his parents. My husband had apparently already begun preparations after consulting with a lawyer. The edge of the envelope was gradually becoming distorted in his trembling hand. That evening, the situation saw further developments. An emergency notice arrived from the Greenwich Charitable Association. Printed on expensive wood grain stationery was the announcement of Patricia's expulsion. A sudden banishment from the activities she had devoted years to. Following that, a notice arrived from the Belle Haven District Residents Association, prohibiting her participation in community activities. The spread on social media intensified further. Former friends, social acquaintances, and local volunteer members. Everyone was trying to sever their connections with her. Her image was being deleted one after another from photos of glamorous parties. The social status she had built up over 30 years was crumbling in an instant. It was like watching a sand castle being swallowed by waves. At night, I encountered Patricia again in the hospital corridor. Her usual dignified bearing was gone, and her luxury brand clothes and charitable activist badge now seemed hollow. Her shoulders were slumped as she walked, making her look like a different person. "My life, everything I had, why doesn't anyone understand?" Medical staff busily passed by as she muttered in distress. No one paid her any attention. She who was once respected and looked up to had now become like a shadow. This scene was far removed from her glamorous social world image. One morning, a week after the incident, we had an unexpected visitor. As I sat by Amy's bedside in her private hospital room, I heard hurried footsteps in the hallway. The door slowly opened, and there stood Patricia. Gone was her usual proud posture, her shoulders were slumped. Her once perfect makeup was smeared, with dark circles under her eyes. Her luxury brand clothing was wrinkled, looking as if she had been wearing the same outfit for days. Her fingers trembled slightly as they clutched a paper bag. "Jennifer. I want you to hear me out. Please." Her voice was so distraught, I could hardly believe it was Patricia's. Her usual haughty attitude was gone, replaced by deep fatigue and anxiety. "Why did you come?" "The police told you to stay away. For Amy's safety." Patricia shrank even further at my cold voice. The way she clutched her expensive handbag to her chest revealed her anxiety. "Please, try to understand my position. I've lost everything, my standing in society, my friends, my place at church. The weekend charity event was cancelled, but what hurts even more is..." Her words were interrupted by sudden coughing. She bore no resemblance to the dignified charitable activist she once was. Just then, Amy woke up in her bed. "Grandma. What's wrong?" The air in the room froze at her faint voice. Amy slowly moved her arm with the foredrip and picked up a piece of paper from her bedside. With trembling hands, she held it out to Patricia. "This. I wanted to give you this that morning." It was a drawing. Amy had drawn herself and Patricia tending to the garden together. The two of them were happily watering flowers in front of the rose bushes. Both faces wore big smiles. Looking at the date, it was from the day before the incident. In the corner were the words, "To my beloved grandma," written in childish handwriting. Just then, a voice came from the nurse's station. "Mrs. Wilson, could you look at this medication chart?" The speaker was a middle-aged nurse in a white uniform. She was my former colleague, a veteran who had worked in this ward for over 10 years. She held a black notebook in her hand. "These are 2 years' worth of medication records. The blood pressure variation patterns, medication times, side effect observations, it's as accurate as if written by a professional nurse. Actually, the police asked us to review it." I found myself drawn to the notebook. It contained detailed records of Patricia's health management. Blood pressure fluctuations, medication times, changes in condition, everything was carefully noted. Even daily events and observations were written in the margins. "Actually," the nurse continued, "other notebooks were found in Patricia's study. They were seized by the police as evidence, but were returned this morning." Inside the bag the nurse handed over were multiple notebooks. Each was carefully labeled and organized by date. The first one that caught my eye was a meal planning notebook. 2 years' worth of menus, carefully calculated for Patricia's preferences and nutritional balance. Low-sodium meals for high blood pressure, ingredients chosen with consideration for arthritis, and colorful seasonal ingredients. Each page recorded Patricia's appetite and condition changes. Next was Amy's art collection. Weekly drawings were all carefully filed by date. Each drawing had warm comments from Patricia attached. The medication management chart was particularly detailed. In addition to records of blood pressure and arthritis medication use, it included observations of side effects, blood pressure fluctuations, and mood changes. Items to report to the doctor were summarized and updated with each visit. The cleaning and laundry schedule showed detailed procedures for the large mansion, carefully arranged considering Patricia's physical condition. Heavy tasks were avoided, with appropriate breaks planned. There was flexibility to adjust the schedule according to her arthritis condition. And finally, the health management notebook. Professional observations utilizing my nursing knowledge. Daily condition changes, concerning symptoms, lifestyle rhythm records. It was as detailed as a professional nurse's patient care observations and responses. This is My voice trembled. The visits to my mother-in-law's house that had continued for 2 years. While maintaining a cold relationship on the surface, Here was evidence of the deep bond that had actually formed. I don't know what to think anymore either. Patricia's voice echoed quietly. It carried an honest emotion I had never heard before. While I acted cold on the surface, you quietly took care of me. Amy showed me pure love. But my pride, and then that day, I panicked. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Her perfect makeup crumbled. It was as if the mask she had maintained for years was peeling away layer by layer. I love you, Grandma. Amy's voice broke through the heavy atmosphere. Though faint, it was clear. You always taught me in the garden. The names of flowers, how to water them. And I knew you secretly stroked my drawings on the refrigerator. You even made me snacks without telling Mom, didn't you? Large tears fell from Patricia's eyes. Emotions she had suppressed for years poured out like a broken dam. That night, a family meeting was held. Michael, Robert, and I gathered in the hospital conference room. The discovered notebooks were spread out on the table. Looking at all these records, Robert said in a tired voice. Maybe this was Patricia's way of showing love. However, that act. Michael silently turned the pages of the notebooks. His expression showed conflicting emotions. Complete reconciliation will take time, I said quietly. But this might be a new beginning. Outside the window, the summer evening was quietly deepening. The setting sun streaming into the hospital room gently illuminated Amy's drawing. There was genuine love depicted there. One Sunday in October, a small bouquet decorated the dining table in our house in the quiet Greenwich residential area. Cosmos flowers that Amy had picked from the garden. The soft autumn sunlight gently illuminated the petals. Mom, I'll help set the table. Amy, who had fully recovered her health, carefully carried plates from the cupboard. 3 months after her hospitalization, the scars from that incident were gradually healing within her. The doorbell rang. I'll get it, I called out. Amy nodded happily. When I opened the door, there stood Patricia. No longer in her luxurious attire, but in a simple dress. She held a homemade apple pie. Excuse me, Jennifer. Her voice no longer carried its former arrogance. The divorce mediation was in its final stages, she had lost all her charitable organization positions, and the mansion was to be sold. Though she remained isolated in the community, there was a sense of peace in her eyes. I baked a pie. I went easy on the cinnamon, just how Amy likes it. As we sat at the table, I noticed a new drawing by Amy. Unlike the one from the hospital, this one showed the whole family enjoying a barbecue in the garden. Patricia's figure was naturally integrated into the family circle. Grandma, the flower growing method you taught me last time worked well. Amy reported happily. The weekly gardening lessons had become time for nurturing new bonds. Oh, that's wonderful. Shall I teach you how to plant bulbs for spring next week? As conversation flowed naturally, Michael appeared from the living room. Mom, have you signed those documents? The final divorce mediation papers. Patricia quietly nodded. Yes, everything's complete. Robert signed them with a peaceful expression too. Though complete reconciliation hadn't been achieved, at least they maintained a relationship where they could talk. Instead of the lavish parties and glamorous social gatherings of the past, they now had more time to share meals as a family. Actually, I have something I want to show Amy today. Patricia took an album from her handbag. It was a collection of Amy's drawings from the past 2 years, along with daily records. This is the most precious treasure in my life. There was no lie in those words. Having lost her social status, honor, and luxurious lifestyle, all that remained were family bonds. It was also the beginning of a new life for her. In the evening twilight, an autumn breeze gently caressed us as we relaxed in deck chairs in the garden. Amy watered the flowers while Patricia watched over her with a peaceful expression. It wasn't a perfect relationship. Sometimes, the scars from the past still ached. Yet perhaps this imperfection was the true form of family. "Hey, Mom," Amy approached with a bouquet. "Let's all have lunch together next Sunday too." Patricia's eyes moistened at this innocent suggestion. What she had lost might have been great. But what she had gained was even more precious. Understanding beyond prejudice. True strength. And most importantly, family bonds. The cosmos petals swayed gently in the sunset light. It seemed to be quietly watching over the beginning of our new story.